The White House has said that it is monitoring the case of Lucy Connolly in what's being described as an escalation of free speech tensions with Sir Keir Starmer's government.
Well, last week, Lucy Connolly had her appeal against her 31-month prison sentence rejected. She was jailed following an online post about migrants in the hours after the Southport murders.
Well, is free speech under threat? We're joined by Lucy Connolly's husband, Ray Connolly. Ray, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I know that you said in a statement how heartbroken you were, that your wife, her appeal was dismissed in the way it was, a sentence of 31 months in prison. What do you make of this from the White House, then, that the administration is so interested in free speech in this country that it's going to be actively monitoring the case of your wife?
I was absolutely delighted that President Trump, the leader of the free world, is getting involved in this case. More, obviously, for my wife as well, but also for freedom of speech being under attack. Since July. So I'm absolutely delighted. What's not to be over the moon about?
Ray, can you just take us back to that time when, of course, in the furore after those terrible Southport murders, the police came knocking on your door, speaking to your wife. The legal proceedings started, and of course, Lucy Connolly ended up pleading guilty. Was that under legal advice at the time? What sort of advice had you sought? Because obviously, she now must deeply regret that initial guilty plea.
Of course, I did try to speak her out of it, and I wanted to go in front of a jury, but it was all being told that we could be made June before she went into to a jury to put her side of the story across. But then she was under pressure to probably plead guilty, which she did because she felt that was the best option for her to get home to see her daughter, because she thought she'd be home around Christmas time and with sentence and reductions and the guilty plea. And she felt that was her best option. I didn't want her to, and other people had told me not to because they would probably give her a lengthy sentence. But she was convinced that, she was guided into thinking that she would be released around Christmas time.
Did her own counsel tell her that if she pleaded guilty, she'd be more likely to be out than if she pleaded innocent? Because of the reductions of guilty plea and whatever, with 40% reduction and a guilty plea 25%, and then they'd done the calculations that it would be around. I mean, my phone call to even my barrister afterwards, and I said when she got found sentenced to 31 months, I did say to him then, I said, well, when is she home? He said, February, mate. It was almost like it was a done deal, but obviously come February, because very little we know because of the type of offence it was. It was only February, but we had to go to the governor of the prison to authorise, because it was a race-related incident, where you have to get permission off the governor to be released in February, but got turned down that she was unsuitable.
Now, being convicted for inciting racial hatred, extremely serious. And I just wonder what it's been like for you as her husband, and also for Lucy in however many months it's been. Have you found a lot of support from friends, family, from community, or has it been quite ostracising? How's it been for you?
For me personally, I can't fault people. They know me, they know this family, and they're very supportive. Some of my fellow councillors from the opposition who are from ethnic backgrounds, they're fully supportive of me because they know me, they know my family. The only attack I've had has been from probably Labour activists, really. But generally, people have been really good, really supportive. Lucy in prison, obviously it was tough when she got in there because the police criminal prosecution summary, until it was adjusted, where obviously a lot of people were coming at us going, you said you don't like immigrants, I'm a person of colour, but that's all gone now. Those people, they have a great time for Lucy. They're her friends, believe it or not. I mean, she even sent me shopping yesterday to get
the same pyjamas for everybody on her wing. So I went into town to get PJs for them all. So they've all got the same things, but they're getting well over in prison as well.
Ray, do you have, maybe you haven't looked this far ahead, but do you have any idea what Lucy is planning to do once she's out of prison? Because obviously, everything's changed for her and changed for the family. Does she know what she wants to do?
I don't know. Just the trouble. I mean, I've obviously had a lot of conversations with her, and she won't be doing anything probably for a couple of months. But as she's been she'd probably love to work within the prisons because, believe it or not, I mean, she knows a lot of those girls now. She sees the problems what are in the prisons. It's like this release scheme. I mean, they released 15 people the last time, and I think 8 were back within the first week of the last time on her prison in Peterborough, and probably the rest of them back. The people they're releasing like homeless people who are normally homeless. They come straight back in. So if they do a release scheme, they need to release people who can go back into families, jobs, that sort of thing. But Lucy, I'd like her to work within the prison system or something if she's able to. I really do.
It boggles the mind that we're releasing sometimes violent criminals, sometimes people who are going to fall back into that cycle of crime that they've spent the majority of their lives in. Meanwhile, your wife, who, let's be honest, who on this planet genuinely believes she is a threat to any living soul in this country? I just can't imagine how she would be a threat to anyone outside of prison, and yet there she is for many more months. It must be such a tough time for your family, Ray. Thanks so much for talking to us here on GB News, and all the best to you and your family, and Lucy, of course.
OK, thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Well, there you go. Now, on the issue of Lucy Connolly, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has previously said, I celebrate the fact that we have independent courts in this country. I'm strongly in favour of free speech. We've had free speech in this country for a very long time, and we protect it fiercely. But I am equally against incitement to violence against other people. So those are the words of Sir Keir Starmer.
Some people would say that, of course you can have freedom of speech. You can also have limits on incitement to violence. But some might question the degree to which you have freedom of speech, given at where you set that threshold.
Well, absolutely. And in the United States, the threshold is much higher.
Yeah.
I think for incitement to violence, you have to specify a specific place, a specific time.
And it has to be immediate.
Don't you? And it has to be immediate. So such a vague statement as Lucy Connolly's wouldn't reach that.
I've spoken to a number of American lawyers who are flabbergasted that this reached the courts in this country, because they just would not see that as anything close to something that would meet the threshold in the United States.
And perhaps that interview with Charlie Kirk that Ben Leo conducted, Charlie Kirk said, I'm going to bring this back to the White House administration, Marco Rubio, perhaps that had some impact. Who knows?
Well,